I caught my neighbor spying on me through the window after my partner left. It was just another ordinary Friday night. My partner had left for a weekend work trip, and I was finally going to have the apartment to myself. You know, time to catch up on some shows, take a long bath, and maybe even sleep in for once without the nagging alarm. As they packed their bags, kissed me goodbye, and headed out the door, I settled into the quiet and solitude. Little did I know that peace was about to be shattered by something I could have never imagined. My apartment was cozy, with large windows that let in an abundance of natural light during the day. At night, though, those same windows felt like a double-edged sword, allowing me to see out into the world, but also letting anyone look inside if the blinds weren't drawn. I didn't mind, usually, but that night I was feeling a bit lazy and left the blinds open, deciding it wasn't a big deal. As the evening crept along, I curled up on the couch, dimming the lights to a warm glow, and started binge-watching a series I'd been meaning to catch up on. The soft hum of the city outside was my background noise, and the faint flicker of the screen was the only light in the room. Everything felt peaceful, or at least it did for a while. About halfway through the second episode, I felt something strange, a sudden eerie sensation that I was being watched. You know that feeling? The prickling of the skin, the hairs on the back of your neck standing up. At first, I brushed it off as paranoia. I mean, who could possibly be watching me in my own home? But the feeling persisted, and I began to feel more and more uneasy. My eyes darted to the window, but all I could see were the dim lights from other buildings across the street. Still, something felt off. I paused the show, my eyes scanning the shadows, my heart rate starting to pick up. I stood up and walked over to the window, glancing outside, trying to reassure myself that it was all in my head. But just as I was about to pull the blinds down, my gaze locked onto something, or rather someone. It was my neighbor from the building across the way. He was standing at his window, his apartment lights off, but the faint glow from my apartment must have illuminated me perfectly in his line of sight. My heart skipped a beat as I realized he was staring right at me, completely motionless. It wasn't the casual glance of someone looking out their window. No, this was something else, something much more deliberate. For a moment I froze, unsure of what to do. Should I pretend I hadn't noticed? Should I close the blinds and move on? My mind raced as I tried to make sense of the situation. Why was he watching me? Had he been doing this the whole time? A cold chill ran down my spine as I considered the possibility. I decided to break the stare and swiftly pulled the blinds down, my heart pounding in my chest. I backed away from the window, feeling a strange mix of fear, anger, and confusion. Why was he spying on me? Was this a one-time thing, or had this been happening for longer than I realized? I tried to distract myself, but it wasn't working. The image of him standing there, silently watching me, was burned into my mind. I couldn't shake the feeling of being violated, of having my privacy completely invaded. I told myself to calm down, that maybe it was just a coincidence. Maybe he wasn't actually watching me, just staring blankly out into the night. But deep down, I knew that wasn't true. There was something too intentional about the way he was standing, the way his eyes locked onto mine without hesitation. The rest of the evening was a blur of paranoia. Every creak of the apartment, every distant sound from the street made me jump. I kept glancing over at the window, half expecting to see him there again, lurking in the shadows. But the blinds were closed, and I couldn't see out anymore. That didn't stop the unease from gnawing at me, though. As the hours passed, I became more frustrated. Why should I be the one feeling unsafe in my own home? I hadn't done anything wrong. He was the one who had crossed the line. Anger started to bubble up inside me, mixing with the fear, and I found myself considering what to do next. Should I confront him, call the police, tell my partner what had happened? But what would I even say? Hey honey, I caught our neighbor spying on me through the window. It sounded ridiculous in my head. Unable to sleep, I sat on the couch, staring blankly at the TV, barely registering what was playing. My thoughts kept looping back to the same questions. Why? Why was he watching me? What did he want? And how long had this been going on without me noticing? Eventually, exhaustion got the better of me, and I fell asleep on the couch. When I woke up the next morning, the bright light of day made the events of the previous night feel distant and surreal. Maybe I had overreacted. wasn't as bad as I thought. People stare out of their windows all the time, right? It was probably nothing. Just a weird, awkward coincidence. But as I went about my day, that gnawing sense of unease wouldn't leave me. Every time I walked past the window, I felt compelled to glance outside to see if he was there. And sure enough, that afternoon, when I finally gave in to the impulse and peeked through the blinds, he was there again. This time he wasn't trying to hide it. He was standing at his window in broad daylight, staring directly into my apartment. My stomach dropped. This wasn't a coincidence. This wasn't an accident. He was deliberately watching me. I stepped back from the window, my mind racing. This had gone from unsettling to disturbing. I couldn't just ignore it anymore. I grabbed my phone, my hands shaking as I considered my options. Should I call the police? File a report? But what could they do? It wasn't like he'd actually done anything illegal, just stood at his window staring. Creepy, yes, but criminal. I decided to document it, just in case things escalated. I took a picture of him standing there, watching. It wasn't much, but it felt like some kind of action. After that, I closed the blinds again, double-checking to make sure they were fully shut this time. I didn't want to give him any more opportunities to spy on me. The rest of the weekend was tense. I barely left the apartment, too afraid that he'd be watching every move I made. When my partner finally came home, I tried to act normal, but I couldn't hold it in. I told them everything, about how I'd caught our neighbor watching me, how he'd been staring again the next day. They were concerned, of course, but like me, they weren't sure what to do. We agreed to keep the blinds closed for the time being and not engage with the neighbor. But even with the blinds shut, I couldn't shake the feeling that he was out there, watching, waiting. Every time I walked into the room, I felt his eyes on me, even if I couldn't see him. Days turned into weeks, and while I never caught him spying again, the memory of that night lingered. I couldn't relax in my own home, always wondering if he was there, behind the blinds, staring into my life. It's strange how something so seemingly small, just a glance through a window, can leave such a lasting impact. Even now, I find myself second-guessing every shadow, every movement outside. The world feels a little less safe, a little more intrusive, and I'm left wondering how long I'll carry that feeling with me.